Smite Tactics, hot off the presses. Got to give big shout outs to my main man, Scott Gandhi. He's one of the big minds behind that one. And, you know, I don't think the video sort of hinted at it, but I don't think it really captured it. You know, a lot of people ask the question, how do these games sort of like come to fruition? Well, Gandhi just sort of was like, hey, man, I like this style of game. I think this is pretty neat. He asked me and a couple of the resident, like, Magic the Gathering nerds, you know, what we thought. And then sort of breathed life into this giant, really crazy, fun game. The Smite players have given it a shot. You can give it a shot too, like we said, www.smitetactics.com. Believe it or not, the www is actually very, very important. You won't get there without it. So despite what the screen says, you actually need that prefix. www.smitetactics.com. You can sign up for the beta, and we'll get you in there. Again, this is a turn-based tactical RPG, turn-based tactical strategy game. Should be a lot of fun. Little remnants of some games from yesteryear. Totally, have you been able to play it at all?
Actually, I was playing some last night. I got into a queue. I got matched against Baker.
You win or lose?
I stomped him.
Absolutely. It's fun. Like Jeff was saying, it's not always just about the cards you draw, but also how you're going to go ahead and apply those, apply your positioning, etc. A lot of different rumbles there as far as that's concerned. But back to the action here. Cringe Crew. They wind up splitting with the defending world champions EmilZy, despite EmilZy's best efforts to take the game number 1 in just about 20 minutes. That'll net both teams 1 point, just to reiterate. If you sweep the series and win both games, you get 3 points. If you split down the middle, well, you get 1. And that's what we see for match number 1. Now, Cringe Crew will take on Obey Alliance, formerly known as Hunger for More.
Yeah, this is a big game, I think. These two teams may be considered by most players to be the second and third team in this group. I obviously a little bit biased, but I'm excited to see this. I think this will be a big challenge for Obey. We'll see today if they are here to play. We've already seen Cringe Crew prove that they're here to play, and now it's Obey's turn. Absolutely.
Like we said, both of these teams very, very strong. Ataraxia, really the namesake for this team. He brings his former Titan fragment, PrettyPriMe, and then PANDALIKE, otherwise known as, well, many different names. But they bring CaptainTwig and Variety together. Variety, one of the most notable turnaround players from last year, struggled a lot in Season 2, made the really big turnaround here. And then CaptainTwig, kind of a similar story, was struggling a little bit on the side of Fnatic. Fnatic then imploded, to be polite. And then CaptainTwig moved on after a position swap to the jungle. Has seemed a lot more successful here on the side of the squad rather than Fnatic.
This whole team has seen a lot of success with the addition of Variety and PANDALIKE. During the second half of the spring split, they just turned it around. They were 3-9 going into that split, and then they actually qualified for DreamHack Smite Masters. So overall, just a lot of great synergy between these teams.
What do you think really has been the turnaround for Obey Alliance? Because when we saw Hunger for More storm on the scene at first, they were 0 and I think 7 before they were able to make the turnaround and become one of the top-end teams. And here in the fall split, just continuing and being one of the top-end teams. Hazer, what do you think was the biggest turnaround for this squad right here?
I think it was that adjustment to bringing in Frezzy. I think bringing in Frezzy improved their team dynamic a lot, improved their comms, improved the way they interacted with each other, you know? It made playing Smite more fun for them, I think.
For sure.
And that was a big difference for them, and it made them enjoy the game and therefore play better.
Ataraxia might be the captain, but PrettyPriMe brings a lot of the devastation. You can see right there, not quite on your screen, but on the card to your left. That's what PrettyPriMe looks like when he's slaying you with the Vulcan. His longtime favorite character has really become meta right about now, and him and his 3.5 KDA is certainly a very big part of what makes this team whole. So PrettyPriMe right here on the horizon. He's going to come down and look right there. That's what you expect out of PrettyPriMe. Tons of damage, a lot of AoE, and just an attention to the players as far as who he wants to find. I find that PrettyPriMe, if you want to boil him down, he's all about the target selection. I find that he's always looking at the right guy.
And it's not just about the Vulcan. He's been adapting to many kinds of other gods. We might even see some raw out of him. We've seen it a lot in the last 2 group stages, but he really likes these long-range snipe ability gods.
You know, I don't even know if you did it on purpose or not, but PrettyPriMe's direct opposition over there in the mid lane is going to be Kero. And this guy is known for his Ra. Kero, formerly known as Arrow, as strange as that may be. This guy is known for his Ra. Kero, actually, seems to be the ultimate role player, and a lot of people take that as a negative statement, but I really mean nothing but positive from it. You've got a lot of the players around him can sort of do the heavy lifting, and Kero, he's just very consistent. Very rare is it that he's going to absolutely carry the game, although it's certainly possible, but even more rare is that he's going to drop the game and be the reason the team loses.
Yeah, Kero definitely one of those consistent mid laners. He's confident on basically any god. We saw him last game on that Isis, really controlling the game, putting out a whole lot of CC. We saw some enormous spirit balls off of taunts, really turning fights for his team, and yeah, bringing out those Isis ults when he had to. He just basically made no mistakes last game.
And coming to those choices, right? You look at the Ra, you look at the Isis and the Neath that was on display. These are the selections that sometimes you put in the hands of a carry mid laner and you feel like you're losing a little bit. That's why I really like a role-playing mid laner like Kero. You can give him the Neath, you can give him a setup god. You're not losing this giant carry potential because that's not the style play he enjoys. He's this setup guy. He's going to enable his team. He's got a fantastic jungler. He's got a fantastic hunter. We saw Shaggyshenk crush it last match, and just the players around him will certainly allow that to happen.
And I think going into this set, I think both teams have a lot of advantages and disadvantages. One, Cringe Crew are warmed up. They just played against Energy. They found the amazing split at Ataraxia, looking very happy, waving at the camera there. And Obey, they've got the opportunity to watch what Cringe Crew are running. So more than likely, just like that, they're not going to allow EmilZy or Repikas that Athena. I don't think we're ever going to see Cringe Crew with another Athena the rest of this weekend.
Absolutely not. I mean, looking at the way they were able to use it, like we said, EmilZy plays just as well on Athena, if not better, than Repikas. And we saw Repikas kind of run that game, so I would expect to see number 2. Cringe Crew again with the Batz first pick. You know, Tully and I were very critical about this choice the first time around. Hazer, have you sort of gleaned insight into this choice?
I can see why they're doing it. I can see that Batz has performed really well at the recent lands, and maybe if they have adjusted their drafting phase this time so they're not picking a full late game comp, they can play around it and use it to set up some big damage from other characters. But I'm still not a big fan. I would have preferred the Fafnir first pick personally.
You know, I agree. But Obey Alliance, they're certainly pretty happy that Fafnir was left on the table. They'll select Fafnir and Jing, one of the more devastating dual lane combinations for sure. Option over to Cringe Crew. They've got 2 selections before the second round of bans come out. Where do you think they're going to land, Tully?
I think that they have to pick a very aggressive mid god here. Maybe we'll see Isis come again for Kero this time around, trying to get that early pressure, because the first game when they were dealing against the Isis, they lost just too much control in the solo side jungles, but then the second game, once they had it, they were the ones that didn't really have to worry about those invades.
And again, the Isis will be the selection for Kero. Certainly a good choice, something that he's able to play stalemate-ish on, if you will. And then the Freya, again, this is the way you sort of expect Cringe Crew to go. Let Repikas and the mid lane Kero sort of do just their role, and then Shaggyshenk does a lot of the heavy lifting. I'm expecting that Freya to go in the long lane.
Yeah, we saw Shaggyshenk really go off on that Jing last game, and Ataraxia he's a massive Jing fan. He loves the Jing. So it's no surprise really to see Obey taking that away as they take the Ra for Prime, as we mentioned earlier.
Yeah, you know, Tully, you hit the nail on the head there. Ross certainly made an appearance last week. If you guys didn't catch that, you wanna watch those VODs. The best, absolutely devastated players with this choice. And Ra in general has really seen a surge of selection here. No real buffs towards Ra, no real buffs towards any of the items he uses. So why are we seeing the Chicken Man?
People just forget about how much damage Ra actually does between his Celestial Beam and Searing Pain combination. We saw several times Eager running Arlong Shen on a Roar, just setting up the best for easy kill on Xenotronics playing Agni during the Root Cripple. That one Javelin toss just set up the combo and deleted him off the map.
So with the Ra on Obey Alliance, they've got the Fafnir and the Jing. They're going to look for a little bit more setup, I think, in their other selections for the solo and the jungle. But the bans are out. Obey Alliance will make sure no Arlong Shen or Khepri. Cringe Crew still has yet to select a support. And the Cringe Crew will ban out the Serket, making sure that Obey can't counteract what they want to do.
Interesting. Seems to be a lot of focus here on CaptainTwig in that jungle role. They've taken away the Najat, they've taken away the Aokwang, they've taken away the Serket, and they've taken away the Zongkui.
And that right there, that's a homework ban.
They haven't taken away the Nemesis. I was going to say this because CaptainTwig, actually back in Season 2, I think he used to run Nemesis with the Fist of the Gods when he used to stun the target. And then I think he was playing, I forgot who he was playing with back then, but it would set up just so many plays between the Ra or the Kukulkan.
Yeah, we saw a lot of that, but here in the Zhang Kui ban, I want to talk about this. That's a homework ban right there. Obey Alliance, their solo laner, Variety. He is a very interesting player, and you know, I discussed his sort of comeback. Variety's issue once upon a time was that his god pool was very interesting. He then moved his god pool to be a little bit more meta, but he hung on to some of the remnants of his old god pool, and Zhang Kui in the solo lane is one of those selections. It's actually surprisingly successful. It brings a couple of different things into the solo lane. Totally, why don't you tell us why Cringe Crew's a little afraid of it?
The thing that's interesting though is normally Isis counters Zhang Kui, so maybe this was a throw. Maybe they're more afraid of the Ra in the solo lane than anything else, because Zhang Kui kind of struggles without having too much mobility, whereas Ra is really safe using his Celestial Beam from far away, healing himself up no problem. But look at the picks from Cringe Crew, picking up Amaterasu and Osiris here.
So this is very interesting. You're going to see some odd support selection. It's either going to be the Amy support or the Osiris support.
I would say it must be Amy here. We've seen a lot of players being, a lot of support players, Rafa in particular, Big Man Tings as well, absolutely spamming that Amaterasu support in ranked. So we're finally going to get to see on the competitive stage. Very spicy coming out here, and we see the Ymir come out. That'll be for Variety in the solo lane.
Absolutely, another one of Variety's go-to oddball selections. But before we ask you guys for your opinions, I wanna ask you one more to expand on the Amaterasu support. You mentioned that you've seen a lot of it in ranked over there on the EU side of things. What does Amaterasu bring?
So Amaterasu brings pressure. That's the biggest thing of all. I think her auras give a lot to her team. She gives a minimal amount of healing. It's not huge, but it is something. And she allows that disengage with that aura. You switch stance. If somebody's chasing you and you're in that Amaterasu speed aura stance, you're going to get away. There's no catching you.
So Freya and Amaterasu is assumed to be the dual lane versus Jing Fafnir. Where's the pressure going to go?
I think that what the goal for Cringe Crew is in the dual lane is this Amaterasu. She's going to stay in the front of the wave, making it very difficult for Fafnir to really clear the wave with his hammer. So he's going to have to find a repositioning to try to really clear the wave. So that might delay things possibly for Ataraxia in the Jing. He really wants to get off in that early start. And by putting a warrior support there, maybe the goal of Cringe Crew is trying to shut down Ataraxia.
You know, it's very interesting though. Amaterasu is definitely an offensive character, right? Especially in the support role. You're thinking, if you want to compare it to some older characters that might be in the spot, you're thinking like the Sun Wukong approach, where you're going to be defensive by being offensive. EmilZy doesn't strike me as that player. He's been a long-time Athena, Geb style support guy.
Yeah, for me, EmilZy has up to this point been more of a supporty support. He's not an aggressor. You don't really see him going in on Ares or anything, hitting huge amounts of chains, soloing people. That just doesn't really seem his style to me. But he has been in the scene for a very long time.
Very true.
I think maybe during the break between the online stage and this stage, he's adapted his game so that he can play this Amaterasu. I can't imagine they're coming in blind with it, so he must be at least proficient.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun to see the pocket picks coming out from Cringe Crew. We're certainly getting an opportunity to see something at least new to the SPL stage. Cringe Crew, they're bringing out some of their pocket picks. Is it enough to take down Obey Alliance? We've got Aggro and Hindu on the horn.
Thanks so much, Tom. And obviously, you know, as we look at this through, we've seen Cringe Crew take on Obey before. Obey did get the 2-0 in online play, but we are at LAN. Things can change. And talk about change, Osiris or Amaterasu support?
I think it's Amaterasu. I agree with the analyst desk. I know you've been talking to me about why you think it's Osiris, but Amaterasu just has a much more support feeling kit. She's still a warrior. She still should probably be in the solo lane, but overall, maxing up those auras quickly allows your hunter to clear more quickly. You can also use a speed aura to both engage or disengage. The silence, the stun. The only hard CC on the side of Osiris is the stun after Judgment Tether, which takes a long time, or the root after his ultimate. So it's going to be a little bit more difficult, I think, for him to support.
Biggest reason I'm bringing up the Osiris support instead of in the solo lane is because we've not really seen Zyrhoes pull it out before. And they never banned it here either, did the boys of Obey. They're not worried about it because they don't think Zyrhoes is going to play it. That's my viewpoint on it.
I'm very surprised that we didn't see the ban from Obey be Odin. I mean, with the solo and support still open, basically.
They could have got Odin, yeah.
Either one could have been Odin there, and it would have shut down that raw healing immensely. We've seen a lot of teams go for that Odin ban if they're picking the Raw, but Obey instead leaves it open and they don't get punished for it. Cringe Crew go with a different sort of off-meta pick.
Well then, into game we go. Variety will start off with Teleport here. There is no Wrath online for him, so no adaptation to the decisions we saw in Group B once again. Zyrhoes will be playing the Osiris, and EmilZy will be playing support Amaterasu.
Aggro 1, Hindu 0.
Well, it's the first time you get to say that in your life. It'll be the only one too, but don't worry about it. It's okay.
We'll get there eventually. But yeah, so I think the reasoning behind going Teleport on Variety here in the solo lane is that Osiris just brings so much poke in lane, and there is no innate sustain inside of Ymir's kit. And so he could get poked out very, very easily by Zyrhoes in this early game. So he could definitely make use of that teleport because he'll need to back because of the poke.
And on top of that as well, he is a Ymir in the jungle early game. His wave play is pretty good with the Glacial Strike. He's not going to slow down the jungle by being a Guardian like a lot of the other Guardians would be.
Exactly. You see this Wrath being picked up a lot on characters like Terra solo and Sobek solo and gods that have difficult times clearing jungle camps, and Ymir is not one of those characters. He's better than most warriors.
Now, PrettyPriMe on the Raw in the mid lane here as well today. We've seen him play this plenty of times. He has some of the hottest snipes. The best will be watching this with great awe to see if he can perform what the best did last week. But he is rushing a Warlock Sash here by the looks of it.
Interesting choice, because going for this it's the same as we see Kukulkan going for Soulstone into Soul Reliquary. It's 1,500 gold exactly, so there's no potions on the side of PrettyPriMe. And Raw is very mana intensive in the early game, so he's going to have to be careful about conserving that mana. And a lot of times when you see the Warlock Sash rush starting to happen, it's when they do the Warlock Sash 2. They go right for the Uncommon Sash, because that's only 1,350 gold. It gives you a lot of pots. It gives you 3 that you can buy at the start. And then you can just back and immediately finish that Warlock Sash. So we'll see if he wants to go into that before his boots, or if he's just buying this for the health early game, and he's going to buy it second after his boots.
Well, Cringe Crew off to a great start here. They got the left-hand Harpies, so the right-hand Harpies and the Fire Elementals as well there, just because of Isis's superior lane push early on. Talking about lane push, left-hand side as well, Cringe Crew pushing out the lane of Jing and Fafnir.
The clear from the warrior support, that's one of the reasons you pick them. That's why Sun Wukong is so potent in the support role at times if you can find the right sort of matchup, and why we see Odin do well there as well. It gives you some extra push in that duo lane, as well as, like I mentioned, that damage aura from EmilZy is going to boost the clear of Shaggyshenk, which does need some help in the early game.
And that reflection shield that you see being popped by EmilZy there as well does reduce damage coming in. It gives him extra protections and also deals extra damage back when you take poke. So works out kind of well. It's not something we expected too much in the support role. Although, as we saw Hazy saying on the desk, Europeans have been playing it a while in ranked.
I think Wubbin actually carried me on Amaterasu support in ranked the other day. So yeah, he's been getting in on it. That's why I had some inside information just from playing the old ranked conquest.
That's where sometimes you find some of the best strategies out for and understand what's going on here. Shaggyshenk on the Freya this game. We've seen a lot of Chronos out of him, a lot of Solly likes the magical hunters here. Heading for the Fatalis nice and quick up against Ataraxia that everyone's been talking about in terms of his ability to just be good in team fights, but his laning phase is awful. And that's quotes from his own team.
From his own team. There was Obey as a whole, they're very interesting. It's a team dynamic that I've never seen particularly be common.
It's EU, that's why.
Well, not only that, but Ataraxia, when I was talking about, talking to him about his team and how they work together and how it was different from Titan. Oh, hold that thought, actually. CaptainTwig coming over to the solo lane. Thought he was going to use the ultimate there, but because Variety had used Shards of Ice to just clear the wave, there wasn't a whole lot of kill potential. So talking to Ataraxia about his team and how it compared to his Season 1 Worlds runner-up in Titan, he said this team is a lot less serious all the time. They're a lot less try-hard is one of the words that he used as well. Not to say that they don't, put in the effort and make the compositions and those sorts of things.
They have more fun with it.
Exactly. They've got more fun. They can just relax, play the game. They're very loose with each other. You hear them making fun of each other constantly. And I think that's an awesome team dynamic to have. It makes it so the stress of things, something like LAN, isn't as hard.
Well, the last time Repikas got his second speed buff of the game, his team won the game, if you watch back in the last set up against Energy here. So he's going to be in a happy place right now, and it looks like he wants to start pressuring the solo lane a bit. Sadly enough, though, Variety had just returned to base. Going to teleport in. As you can see, CaptainTwig on this side doing the blue.
But this is a great time for a gank, because if he can just poke out Variety, he's going to force him to back with no teleport. Instead, it's going to be Repi taking a lot of poke. CaptainTwig going to secure the blue buff for Variety. And you can see how much mana he just used using that freeze Ice Shards combo. So needing that extra mana buff is going to be very important for him.
Right, Harpies have spawned. Twig going to pressure Repikas a little bit and make the monkey go back to his own side of the map. But both the mid laners eyeing up these right-hand Harpies right now. Solo laners and even the support now making a rotation.
Snipe coming out from PrettyPriMe just to secure those Harpies. Definitely worth it this stage of the game. EmilZy caught in a tough spot. He's lucky that that Snipe was down from PrettyPriMe, because otherwise that could have been an easy Nemesis ult into Snipe combination. And we heard Tolly, I believe, talking about the Wrath on that Nemesis, not picking it up here for CaptainTwig, instead going for that purification up against a CC-heavy lineup of Cringe Crew.
Well, Obey get the right ones with the Snipe, and the left ones, they get one each. PANDALIKE with the in-hand did secure one there, but the ult in mid lane on Kero gonna force an ult in response from Isis.
That's both ults down on the, that's 2 big ults, Dazzling Offensive and Circle of Protection, just for the Nemesis ult. I like the play. That was pure patience coming out of CaptainTwig. Let's ult him and see what happens.
Yeah.
And you see the immediate response coming out of Cringe Crew, expecting a hard engage, and probably rightfully so, but the patience from Obey there, showing that they are not uncomfortable on land. These are guys that have been on land multiple times. They know what to expect. They're not going to be shaken by these land nerves, and looking very comfortable right now.
And it's also Repikas there had the Fear No Evil available, but didn't use that either, so at least they got one ult for ult trade. And overall, it works out well, because Twigs, you can see they're ticking down already. And all he wants to do in the early game, Twig plays these sort of assassins that he likes the mid to late game ones. He's more focused on farm and counter initiation.
Exactly. He wants to wait for the late game and then make the big play. CaptainTwig is a big play jungler. Not all junglers are. You look at junglers like a Repikas or like a Weekend, they kind of like to play the Athena jungle and set up for the team on that.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then you've got players like Adapting and CaptainTwig and Cuvo to an extent as well, like to make these big plays, these big game-changing ganks in the mid to late game, and that's exactly what CaptainTwig's going to look to do on this Nemesis.
Well, still no Go Fury taken by either team, or even looked at for the now. As you can see, it's mainly focused around the buffs and the middle of the map for the time being. Both teams trying to, work each other out for the most part. Obey will be trying to get their early game cobwebs out because this is the first game they've played. Cringe Crew, though, by allowing the boys of Obey to sit back here aggro, is there advantage for Obey just to warm up a little bit better?
The late game composition from Obey is really, really excellent because of the sustain coming out of PrettyPriMe. It's going to be difficult for the roster of Cringe Crew to do enough damage to punch through that in the late game, but they do have the Freya, so there is some sort of late game carry potential there. Both teams are okay with farming for a little bit longer, but I expect once we see Shaggyshenk finish off those boots, it's going to be aggressive.
Engaging mid-snipe, not going to connect there from PrettyPriMe. It's actually Twig under a lot of pressure. Took a lot of free poke, and EmilZy will find the stun. He's looking for the kill, but luckily Twig will get away. Great Spirit Bolt coming out too to make sure EmilZy stays tall as well there, but the boys of Obey fall back. And now on the left-hand side, Shaggyshenk looking to abuse the situation.
There we see the problem with Ra. If you miss the snipe, you're not going to bring a whole lot. EmilZy trying to secure this red buff for Shaggyshenk, taking a decent amount of damage, but he's okay.
Goodbye.
But is Shaggyshenk okay?
Well, he's going to get hit by the hammer and hit by some extra damage too. Will get hit by the gust on top of that, and now Ataraxia is coming in. Shaggy held the ult to the last second, but he's still going to be dead when he lands.
It's just about trading out the kill for Ataraxia, and he's going to go right over the wall perfectly. Now it's PrettyPriMe stuck in an awkward spot on these mid-harpies.
Healing, and he's got a Warlock Slash, so he's very, very tanky in this mid lane for the most part. Obey end up getting first blood after losing red buff.
Something that we didn't touch on going for this Warlock Sash rush on Ra is that his passive gives him additional movement speed as he uses his abilities, so he's not going to be quite as vulnerable as a character like, a Poseidon or someone like that, though I guess Poseidon gets movement speed from his passive as well. But it's going to help him juke around and not be as handicapped by not going boots in the early game.
But he never really got punished for going for this build either. Didn't start any potions here. There was no pressure on him in the mid lane, and Obey have just abused that situation now by getting a Warlock Sash online on a Raw at less than 7 minutes in the game.
And part of the reason why you can do that is because of Batz. We've seen Europeans really favor the Batz so far early here in Group C. First pick twice on the rebound, first pick on the Chaos side. In the other game, very, very heavily prioritized thus far. But his early game is not good. He's really just waiting until level 5 to make any sort of impact. And then even then, he's waiting for a couple of items to enhance his in-hand auto attacks. And you see Hydra's Lament here picked up for Repikas. This is a major reason why Batz is so strong right now and such a priority pick. Because that extra damage after using an ability, you get extra damage on your auto attacks after you use an ability, just like his passive. He's got a chance to get a critical strike after using an ability. And so if you can get the crit with that additional damage from Hydras, you'll see big numbers pop up early.
The dream. Zyrhoes versus EmilZy is not something that's going to be too much to talk about there. However, EmilZy engaging on the left-hand side. CaptainTwig double dashes down. Going to use the ultimate for the extra protections, but the protections will not keep him alive. Repikas comes in with a Fear No Evil, cleans that one up. Good banish from Shaggy, and the boys of Cringe Crew fall back. A pick for the boys of CC.
That's exactly what you want to do up against Nemesis in the early game. Plus, you didn't use the Isis ultimate there, and Gold Fury's still available, and that's a huge win for Cringe Crew. The purification rotation still down on the side of CaptainTwig, keeping him down. We mentioned his playmaking capabilities in the later game. That's what he likes to play for. But if you don't let him get to that late game, it's tough for him to make plays on characters like Nemesis. Right now, sitting about 600 gold down to Repikas in the jungle.
It looks like Cringe Crew are just on the hunt right now as a team, trying to rotate around the map using the Amaterasu mobility as well. And Variety gets a good freeze on a few, looking for the wall to defend himself. The wall is good, but it will not stop the wing gust. Finally, Kero hits it with a third one, but now the rotation from Obey is here.
Another miss snipe from PrettyPriMe. PandaLike transforms into the dragon, but misses both stuns onto EmilZy. This is still a 4v3 in favor of Cringe Crew. They aren't scared of the engage from Obey. This raw pick from PrettyPriMe right now not paying off thus far.
However, the Amaterasu pick from EmilZy is starting to work out well for them. Been involved in both the 2 kills there, and on top of that, I like the build coming out. He went for the winged blade first of all, instead of investing into full boots.
This is the old school support build right now.
The Jigs build is what people
exactly,
call it.
the Jigs build. Forgoing the boots, just going for that extra movement speed on the wing blade, as well as the slow immunity. With how many slows you see on the side of Obey, you've got Raw with a potent slow. Nemesis is all slows, basically. PandaLike, you know, the stun is the big part of the hammer, but then it sends out that little shockwave. That's a slow. Variety, he's Ymir. Slows all day long. Lots of slows on the side of Obey.
For me, at the same time, though, attack speed will come in handy to apply that passive that she can get with those auras to increase the damage these targets are taking. A lot of good reasons to take this wing blade and look for this investment.
Exactly. So now he's going to go into this, probably what is going to be a sovereignty, just looking to help protect his carries and his jungler as well, just giving them some extra physical protection, because he doesn't have to worry as much about providing damage for the team because of that damage aura that he has. You can see that he's already leveled up that aura almost to full right now, so he's going to be able to provide a ton of bonus power as well as that bonus movement speed, which means he's not going to be hurt by the lack of boots.
Well, both solo laners have taken the blue buffs right now. However, Zyrhoes investing into a full Stone of Gaia very early on. We've not seen that in some time. He did get a lot of buffs back to back to back to try and bring it in line with some other items for viability, and well, Zyrhoes seems to think that's the case.
Very interesting choice. EU games they're always going to throw you something that you aren't quite ready for, and I'm going to be honest, I was not ready for Stone of Gaia Osiris in the solo lane.
But the health will help him, and at the same time, there's nothing that we can see CaptainTwig steal in terms of protections off of this Osiris as the game goes on.
Very true, but Pestilence just seemed like the obvious pick here. A couple of ultimates used in the middle lane, but everyone's going to back up and not be too worried about it. PrettyPriMe going to be able to sustain his team. So even if he isn't on point with the snipes, the heals are going to be good for the Raw in the middle lane. But so Pestilence just seemed like the obvious choice for me. Up against the Raw, having a magical damage dealer up against you, it's the cheapest magical protection item. You get a ton of health, a ton of magical prots, as well as reducing the healing of the enemy team. Pestilence is going to be be picked up by someone in this game.
That's true.
And it probably should have been first here by Zyrhoes.
Well, you do have a curse on Zyrhoes, and he also has the Lord of the Afterlife, I guess, that can come into play a little bit for focusing down a target. The Stone of Gaia as well, when you think about it. I mean, Ymir, he's a counterpart, he's an opposition here. He's all about burst damage for the most part. If he gets weathered down, the regeneration that you get from a Stone of Gaia will come into play and allow him to like pick that back up.
Very true, but you could always build it later whenever you have more health to make more use of the passive, regenerating a percentage of your health every few seconds. But this is a great time for Zyrhoes to make a rotation and force a fight, because you see he does have that curse like you mentioned, and there's no sprint on the side of Obey. There's no way for them to get away from that really, really potent AoE slow in a team fight that can absolutely turn the tide of one. So this is the time before everyone hits level 12 that I'd like to see Zyrhoes make the rotation and enforce a fight for Cringe Crew.
Talking about rotation, I mean, if Variety comes over there from the solo lane too, he has invested in Blink now, which just spice things up about Obey's engagement potential here. They were not just going to rely on, you know, a hammer from distance. They can have the Blink freeze or even some walls that can be dropped down to cause some issues for the Cringe Crew on the back line.
Variety's Ymir is crazy. I mean, he gets a lot of respect, and deservedly so, for his tier play. Without a doubt, one of the best tiers in the world, if not the best tier in the world right now. But on this Ymir, I mean, we saw it, I believe it was against Dignitas in the last week of the online phases. He carried the game with his walls in the jungle. So keeping him in the lane like Zyrhoes is doing right now, while like I mentioned, I would like to see him make a rotation to force the fight with the weakening curse, keeping Variety in lane and away from the team fight is definitely beneficial for Cringe Crew as well.
Like you see, Variety invested to Kusari here by the looks of it. Probably go for the Oni's Hunter Garb or the Genjis. They're both available, but which one's the better option here?
Well, I think I'd rather see him go for the Genjis overall. It's a little bit more expensive, but having that those extra cooldowns come off whenever you're hit by magical abilities is going to help him out a lot.
Well, you saw PANDALIKE use the ultimate there, cut out of position, but that's the benefit of Fafnir here, able to ultimate, reduce the amount of damage taken to 0 for a few seconds, and then have all your cooldowns again available to escape. So no further pressure from Cringe Crew. They're just happy to get the ultimate off him.
And that opens up the Gold Fury for them because, or at least shuts down the Gold Fury sneak potential from Obey. And a lot of the reason we see Kukulkan being so strong in the meta right now is the fact that if you aren't paying attention, they can go to the Gold Fury, use the Kukulkan ult, and immediately wrath it. It basically does the entire Gold Fury health in the early game. Ra is very, very similar. Not quite as much damage on Searing Pain as there is on Spirit of the Nine Winds, but it's still a very, very easy to use ability to confirm a Gold Fury. And with that wrath on the side of PANDALIKE, it'll be easy for them to sneak a Gold Fury, but without that giant dragon and the AoE coerce that is so potent on those objectives, it's going to be a little bit harder for them to do so.
Well, we tuned in with Prime for a little while there, and you saw his rotations. He's almost playing like a combat medic in a battlefield here. He's running around the map, looking for farm, obviously, but then turning up at lanes, throwing down heals to make sure he can sustain his team up, and then walking away again to continue from there. Really trying to make the most of this healing early.
PrettyPriMe is one of the premier mid laners in the world, not just Europe, in the world, for my money. And with the prevalence of Vulcan starting to come back up, assuming we'll see him rise back up to prominence.
Well,
here's the Gold Fury rush.
I mean, you're going to have the snipe available if they need it, but Obey will take it anyway. They didn't even have a Wrath on their side. Sorry, they did use the Wrath, I should say, on the side of PANDALIKE, and then they all walk away. EmilZy trying to support Zyrhoes, but Zyrhoes gets hit by a hot snipe. Variety credited for the kill, but here comes Repi.
Huge Fear No Evil going to use Shaggyshenk's ultimate to confirm the kill onto PANDALIKE. The rest of Obey just wants to sit in the back, turtle up on that Solar Blessing and heal up.
Especially with the ultimates being down now, only Kero has him. That blink from Variety, not the greatest in the world, but he's still got the Sanctuary out this Shaggyshenk anyway. EmilZy still hanging around, forced to dash away. Monkey toss from Repikas hits Ataraxia, but I don't think they want to jump to him just yet. Cringe Crew gonna fall back.
And there it is. Once we get into the later game, that Solar Blessing gonna help sustain the team more. Of course, it scales off of your magical power, so as the later game goes, the more potent those heals are going to be. And we talked about it, the sneak potential from Obey on that Gold Fury. Even though Cringe Crew knew, there's nothing they can do about it.
Oh, they know where Variety was, but around the corner, the heals are there from Prime, too.
Oh.
They're still investing the line to Variety. Variety's returned some good damage thanks to a good snipe from Prime as well. Twig, though, in the backline, keeping Kero at bay. And now they're going to fall back for a second as a Spirit Ball comes through. No one's going to die just yet. Wait a second.
Repi, hello. That's a free purification. And then a great wall. Going to use a jump with a snipe onto Kero, as well as the Ymir ultimate makes him really
and
low.
Now Kero's going to pay for the discretions that Repikas made for him. He tries to help out his jungler, and now Obey get a free kill from a very interesting play.
Interesting is a very kind word for what we just saw there. Not the right call whatsoever. Variety, another freeze onto Shaggyshenk. Variety forced both the relics out of that Freya within this engagement. We've seen the snipes from the freezes rather miss on that right-hand side on those Harpies in that initial engagement, but it went so long that he was able to get those cooldowns back. Of course, the cooldown from Breastplate of Valor helping him out in that regard as well. But overall, really, really nice wall there from Variety. But we got to see that blink freeze hit. We've got to see the freeze hit onto EmilZy on the right-hand side.
At the same time, I mean, opposition there, Repikas on the enemy team. Got to calm it down a little bit. Just because you can teleport doesn't mean you always should. Kero helped him out. Kero was the one to pay the price, and Repi would be like, why are you out of position?
But even if it wasn't Kero to fall there, you still use your purification to get what? 200, 300 damage off of overhand smash?
Not a kill.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a key. Not a kill or someone low enough to be killed straight after.
And you see all the time in competitive play, we'll blow multiple ultimates to get one set of purification out, but you don't even have to in this sort of scenario. Repikas does it for you by teleporting in. He had a great early game, was way, way ahead of CaptainTwig. With that Gold Fury in that fight, it's CaptainTwig actually starting to get that gold lead back up. Repi still has the level advantage, but we've got to see some smarter decision making.
Well, we're still following along with EmilZy here on the Amaterasu support. He's level 14 now, just a little bit ahead of PANDALIKE, his opposition here today. You can both see going for very, very similar builds here as well.
But it's probably not going to be a Heartward Amulet here for EmilZy. It's most likely going to be that Pestilence that we mentioned that Cringe Crew is going to need to pick up. The player comparison here between these two support players, you see PANDALIKE looking very, very good overall, but it's actually EmilZy with the higher KDA and average damage. He likes to play these gods like Sobek and apparently like Amaterasu. They're going to help
Right
boost that
side,
damage.
the hold that for Zyrhoes under pressure, forced to load of the Afterlife. The wall will not stop at Osiris. Remember that he can walk through if he does have his passive available, but the rotation from Obey is being forced back. Kero gets ulted, Wingus away, still being pressured by Twig, who felt very confident as the rest, even all 5 members of Obey, are over on this right-hand side.
CaptainTwig does not give a damn about the damage you're going to do to him, not only because of the Retribution Shield, but the healing from Ra. He's absolutely willing to trade out damage.
He's trading with Shaggyshenk. Now in comes PandaLike, looking for pressure, going to get a good hammer off. The boys of Cringe Crew fall back just for a second to make sure their carry is fine. And what do Obey do? Abuse the situation and take a tier 1 tower.
Obey looks a lot like Eager to me right now. Very calculating, very push and pull around the map, but in the end of the day, we're not even trying to force the fight. We're trying to get your objectives.
20 minutes in now, we're just approaching as the Luxus continues to jump the tier 2 here. Could be quite difficult for Obey to go in. Blink is down on Variety here. He must be looking for walls. They do have as well the Sunder available for CaptainTwig. More and more junglers picking this up.
I like the pickup overall. Yeah, you could see actually having that Sunder, not having that pure. Oh, hold that thought. A huge blink, fear no evil.
But he gets ulted and forced back, and he's going to die to PandaLike. Now the boys of Obey come in, and EmilZy with a great zone work, hitting 3 with the stun. Lord of the Afterlife from Zyrhoes will force Ataraxia back. The tether making work happen, but Variety going to peel for his boys too. Fight rages on, and Twig under pressure on the backside, looking to double dash, but will fall to Kero. Still the fight going, but the snipe from Prime comes through. Shaggy in the sky gonna fall down, and Variety's waiting.
There's the freeze. EmilZy in a ton of trouble. Ataraxia cleans up Zyrhoes as well. PandaLike doesn't want to let these last 2 members of Cringe Crew go. Neither does Variety. Ataraxia going into the sky. The perfect wall blocks out the enemy and his own team.
Yeah, just a little bit. You said perfect. I'm not so sure about that. The boys of Obey will be happy though. They get 3 kills for 1. They get a tier 2 tower. We go to the graphs and you'll just see the lead they developed.
It's Cringe Crew's gold lead just fell off a cliff. I mean, it was the Gold Fury, then a fight 1 on the right hand of Harpies, and now this push on the tier 2. And we saw how long that took. I mean, initially it was, let's just get the tier 1 tower. It's fine, you know, we're just here for that. Oh, we can get the tier 2. We're all still full health and we're not really worried about it.
If Cringe Crew lose this game overall, aggro, they'll look back at Repikas teleporting to that monkey and realize that was the mistake they made, because since that moment, it's all gone downhill.
Well, there have been a lot of mistakes overall from both sides, but that was a big one. I mean, losing pressure in that middle lane, getting that second death onto Isis and allowing PrettyPriMe to continue to get that farm up, as well as not having that purification on the side of Repikas, means that he can't play aggressively up against the heavy support that Obey have.
However, Cringe Crew have an opportunity here, starting the Gold Fury. However, Ataraxia recognizing this too. He's up against 3, especially with Kero coming around in the Isis. But Cringe Crew don't want to take this fight quite clearly. They wanted to see a response. They got one, so they back off.
The teleport was available for Variety there, so even though it looked like it was just Ataraxia all by himself contesting that, he knew he had backup, and so did Cringe Crew. They didn't want to mess with that. The snipes have been on point towards the later game from Ra. We mentioned in the early game, there's a problem with Ra. If you miss the snipes, you're kind of useless. Well, if you hit the snipes, you're really, really, really
useful.
good. Yes.
Yeah. Another Gold Fury started by Ataraxia here. The sustain will just allow them to tank this up for days and not take much poke. Good banish, though, from Shaggyshenk there, just to make sure they force a reset. But meanwhile, Shaggy being pressured by Panda again.
And Shaggy, no purification, so I'm assuming Variety is going to be looking for him with that blink freeze. He has it available right now.
And now Zyrhoes leading the boys in of Cringe Crew, but Repikas blinks him and fear no evil. To the backline he goes as Variety, so does the backline of Cringe Crew. CaptainTwig very low at the back as PandaLike still creating a zone to look at Zyrhoes. Zyrhoes forced to ult defensively. Now it's Shaggyshenk left on the front. The snipe from Prime doesn't do great work, and Shaggy's in trouble.
CaptainTwig around the back. Ataraxia going to pick up the first kill of this fight. The sprint is popped, getting EmilZy out of danger right now. But yeah, you've got some members low on Obey. Who cares?
Sustain.
We have Ra heal.
And now they're all going to sit inside it too. Variety going to drop a wall down to make sure nobody can come through. And PandaLike will sit there as well, just in case. If he catches a lazy back, even better. Gold Fury to Obey. Team fight to Obey. They march on.
Now up 7,000 gold, sitting at the 23-minute mark. Only 7-4, only a 3-kill lead overall, but you see that team fight alone. Look at the amount of gold. I think those must be switched, because Obey obviously have a lot more gold won after that fight, as well as the extra damage.
It's fine.
Yeah, but...
Oh, we getting 50 gold from that? I'm like, okay.
Yeah, 50 gold Fury. Seems good.
Well, Variety looking for the walls there as Ataraxia being pressured by Zyrhoes, but on the right-hand side, Repikas being pressured by Variety here at the same time. Twig being a nuisance as he always is. He's not scared to fall down most of the time, though, as you've seen him double dashing a lot of times.
Exactly. Oh, there's the curse coming out of Zyrhoes, trying to force this fight. Spear ball's off the mark. The freeze from stops Kero from
Good
using it
snipe,
up.
hits 3 though, and Kero's forced out. PandaLike to the back, gonna make sure the Sanctuary is forced on him too. Obey still have sustain though, and they're looking very healthy already. Love the walls from Variety again, looking for the push. Let's listen into the Steel Series listening of Obey pushing the tier 2.
If you get a good build, okay, just chill. I'm zoning them. Nice fucking wall, dude. Okay, Osiris gonna be low.
Go back.
Okay, I got
Heal one.
guys. I'm gonna I'm ulting, guys.
I'm out.
I'm ulting this.
I have the back.
That's nice.
Okay,
Back out.
Karen,
Ice is on team. That's Ice is on team.
I'm
Yes,
jumping
jump.
out.
Yes, jump. I can blink on the Freya. Can we touch?
I
Okay,
bet.
back out.
I'm
Back
coming
They-
towards.
Careful for FG, guys.
Alright, we got 2 really low towers here. Just take the farm and we can push right, I'd say.
I'm boosting you prime and I'm going to nade for XP.
I'm gonna back in a sec, I got a rod.
Everyone get ward. Sentries on backs, please.
You know what? Frezzy on comms, he does sound like he plays, right? Guys, I'm being sneaky. Guys, let's do this. Guys, I'm gonna ult, okay? And it just sounds like he's just telling the team what he's doing. And the team's like, yeah, whatever, you know, just keep doing you. We're gonna focus on the rest.
Exactly. Hey guys, watch out for FG. He doesn't want the other team to hear him and be like, hey, we could do FG right now. Overall, I mean, he doesn't sound like the guy who's gonna clap and spam laugh in your face, but you heard on the analyst desk, PandaLike has done so much for this Obey roster. We took a look at the comparison between him and EmilZy earlier, and looking very, very strong overall, and willing to die for his team. Probably too much. Ataraxia says probably a little bit too much, but him and CaptainTwig, that's something they both like to do.
Blink, freeze, wall was good as well as snipe, even better. Kero, half health already. Turning around from Repikas with a fear no evil though, and he's Twig in trouble. The shield will heal him up a little bit. He needs some sustain, and Roz there to give it to him. Juking around in the back is great, which allows Ataraxia to flank from the side. He picks up Kero. Twig is still alive in the back, and Cringe Crew lose the fight, and EmilZy falls down again.
Huge crits coming out of Ataraxia, and then the beam from PrettyPriMe is going to be good. How did CaptainTwig stay alive? I mean, he was 1 HP. He couldn't heal because of Lord of the Afterlife, but just using those juke shoes, getting in and out, getting to the back line, and now he's going to be full health after yet another raw heal.
I've got to give credit to most of the team here, because Variety's doing the great work as a support front line too. He's picking on the back line, making sure they can't get involved in the fight. When Cringe Crew engage, you see Repi go in, and it's like, no, the rest of you are not allowed to join this fight. Walls, freezes, you're going to burn Purification or Relics just to get to the fight.
Almost every time you see Repikas blink in and use Fear No Evil, there's a counter blink from Variety, freezing the damage dealers. You can get Fear No Evil and it'll hurt and it'll be annoying, but it's not going to matter if you're not getting any sort of follow-up damage from the rest of the team. Awesome job by Variety, like you mentioned, just playing this Ymir, the displacement, the CC, everything, kind of similar to Tier, overall playing it very, very well right now.
And Obey as well. I mean, they came into this expected to be 3rd overall in Europe. A lot of teams rate them as the 3rd seeded team in Europe. They just can't beat the top 2. They've done great work against all the boys below them before, just like Cringe Crew here, that they're doing right now.
Exactly. They won every single game during the online split except for their 4 against Orbit and Energy.
Orbit and Energy, correct.
Exactly. So 2 games against each. They lost all 4 of those and went undefeated in the rest. And I mentioned it before the broadcast. This was best case scenario for Cringe Crew.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't great getting dismantled in game 1, but having that comeback, winning very convincingly up against Energy gives them a ton of confidence, as well as just being warmed up on land, and then Obey has to come in cold to this sort of scenario. We saw the role that Cringe Crew was on early. They had the lead in this game, but Obey showing that veteran presence that they have in players like PrettyPriMe, like Ataraxia, showing up and really taking control of this game in the mid game.
You talk about coming in cold too, and you saw a couple of snipes from PrettyPriMe not finding the mark early on, as well as Variety of the blink freezes didn't really hit where he was wanting to at the beginning of the game, but now they've come together, they've started to find the rhythm, they're getting used to it, and they're actually slowing minions down here. It's not troll, they're actually freezing the minion wave for a big group up of minions with the wall.
So this is allowing the rest of the team to go out and farm away buffs. You see CaptainTwig picking up the blue buff, or the speed buff, you see the red buff getting taken by Ataraxia there, but this is just allowing this huge minion wave to amass, and also denying golden XP. You've seen how long Cringe Crew have been waiting for the siege under tier 2 tower, but they're not getting anything. Look at this wave.
Well, this tier 2 tower is actually dead in mid lane, which means this is all going to the Phoenix as well. Left-hand side, Shaggy's already been blown up. Sanctuary down. Prime was thinking about flanking, but meanwhile, what's in mid lane? Variety's in mid lane. Zyrhoes is not in mid lane. He's in the jungle, forced to Lord of the Afterlife away.
Really big ultimate burn there, but all the while, it's the middle Phoenix.
Millions of them! And the Phoenix is already dead already. He died in seconds. They didn't even need the Fire Giant buff for that. Now they're going to pick up Kero as well. And what they're going to do now, if they go for the end, that'd be crazy. But
they've got a million minions to do it with. I mean, how the Titan going to punch through all those?
What is it with EU and Ymir, right? Because every single time we see Ymir's, we always see EU players bring a different strat with him. We saw Rafa maxing wall against Zhonghui to keep him out of the fight. Now Variety's lane freezing multiple waves to get a big build-up to burst down Phoenixes.
And then he's taking a page out of PandaLike's book as well, giving him a little show here on the right-hand side. Phoenix, nothing.
No evil from Repikas though, but he got hit by a big crit by Ataraxia in response, and the monkey will fall back.
Huge snipe.
The snipe comes through from Prime, hitting Shaggyshenk. That's 2 of the damage dealers out of the fight.
And now EmilZy gonna fall. CaptainTwig with the first kill of the game. Repikas doing everything he can to keep Obey out of their own Titan room, but I don't know if it's gonna be enough.
Well, they're burning relics as they just wander through the base. Neander over to the right-hand side here. Don't have the minions for this, but do they even need them? They've got a Fire Giant, and they've got a Ra for sustain too. Osiris is doing a good job of juking there as Zyrhoes and will get out, but the Phoenix will not.
And no Lord of the Afterlife again. There's no way to shut down that healing. The curse has been used. No Lord of the Afterlife, and so there's going to be healing. It might be reduced from the pestilence, but it's not really gonna matter at the end of the day.
And you can see the healing coming through there by Ra. 25,000, near enough, about to tick that way. And look at the player damage charts. Well, 25,000 is all of Freya's plus about another 8k more.
That is all of Freya's plus all of Kero's. That is the 2 damage dealers, the 2 magical damage dealers.
Feels good, man.
Have basically done 0 damage right now. I mean, that is insane. That is insane. So not only do you have a ton of damage on the side of PrettyPriMe, the snipes have been on the mark in the later game, you're completely negating the 2 main damage dealers from Cringe Crew.
Now, the one thing we've not spoken about much, we know Ra's back, yeah? But what brought Ra back? He didn't change. He's still the same Ra. His passive increased a little bit more. But what's the biggest reason Ra has now seen this resurgence?
Weakening Curse not completely negating healing, only a percentage, I believe.
But that was for a
65%.
while, though.
Right, but you know how pro players are, Hindu. You and I talk about it all the time. If something gets nerfed, oh, it's trashed here, we're never touching it again. Oh, healing's terrible, we'll never use it again. And then wait a minute. If we just wait out the Weakening Curse, or you'll see Pestilences, you'll see Divine Ruins, you'll see Brawler's Beat Sticks, none of those really matter if you just back up and heal. If you just continue to back up and heal and then re-engage, none of those auras matter because they aren't close enough. None of those effects matter on Divine Ruin or Brawler's Beat Stick because they don't last, they're only for 8 seconds or so. You don't have to worry as much about it. You just wait out those 8 seconds and heal, and then you can re-engage. So if you're gonna counteract that, you have to be extremely aggressive. That's the only way to play into healer
So
comps
that's
right now.
one of the composition, one of the reasons, but is it the tanks also make a difference as well with this?
Without a doubt. The extra health means that you can take extra damage and then heal it back up. Having that extra health just means that you can take, oh man, I did 1900 damage to that guy. He's almost dead, but then the raw heal gives him an extra 700 health, and he's right back tanky enough to fight you. Both of these factors have really contributed to seeing Raw in a lot of these games.
Talking about being right back. Obey are right back to the front lines now. Got the Fire Giant again, as you saw. No defense from Cringe Crew. He had 3 Phoenixes down, and the boys of Obey just going to march right towards the Titan. Look at how far forward PandaLike was there on the Fafnir. He's not scared to walk all the way up to the Titan and be quite abusive, but there's a snipe and a freeze, and there's a lot of pressure there into the base of Cringe Crew.
But the big circle of protection is going to do a lot of damage. I don't think it's going to matter, though. Ataraxia picks up Zyrhoes. The Titan is falling lower, about 50% right now. Obey is backing up for now,
For heals and for the Fire Giant to make sure they can burn a couple more ultimates. Ataraxia gets away from the danger of that Shaggyshenk ultimate there with his own, and now will regenerate once more. The Phoenix in mid has respawned, but it's already dead.
It's already gone. It didn't really even matter. Just trying to keep these fire minions outside of their base. Titan is about 3/4 HP, but only sitting just under 6,000 HP total. And look, this is exactly what I was talking about. You just back up, heal, and go back at it. Everyone is full health on the side of Obey.
There's only 4 members. Blink Freeze gets 2 Purification. The snipe is down for it, however. The wall is going to try and trap the Titan in place and stop some of the damage from Cringe Crew. The Titan is falling. The Titan falls. It's 12-4. Obey beat Cringe Crew in game 1.
I wonder when the last kill that Cringe Crew had happened, because I felt like they had 4 kills fairly early on in that game, and then the healing came online from Obey. The team fights just looked so much smoother. Once Variety started coming into those team fights, no one ever had purification on the side of Cringe Crew.
PANDALIKE versus Zyrhoes at the Goal Fury was the last kill they got. They got PANDALIKE when Zyrhoes died as well for it, but Obey got that Goal Fury. And then we saw the Repikas play in the jungle. I want to take it back to that moment. For me, that's when the game swung, because they got pressure in mid, they got a tier 1 tower, and they managed to continue escalating that when Kero died.
I was about to go into that point of going up against these healer compositions. You have to be able to dive the healer. That's the only way to do it. You've got to really draft some sort of dive composition to kill the healer, so that it doesn't matter if they back up because there's no heal available to them. And if that Batz gets a little bit behind, it doesn't have that gold lead that we saw him amass up against Nemesis in the jungle, it's a lot harder for him to make those dives, as well as just allowing him to get that Warlock Sash stacked up. We mentioned him buying it very, very early. He was able to be safe. I don't think PrettyPriMe timed all that game.
No, very good game for the boys of Obey there. What can Cringe Crew do to answer back? F-Dot, ask the analyst, we need to know.
I mean, that's certainly what Cringe Crew are good at. They're good at adaptation and moving on. We saw them do that earlier in the set. But Obey take game number 1 off a fantastic play specifically from Variety. At this point, I don't think anybody's surprised. Special shout out to Mike Hayes supporting his own team Obey out there in the Twitch chat audience. But again, they take number 1, and that is fantastic for them. And like I said, I'm just used to this performance out of Variety at this point. It feels like just yesterday that I was one of his biggest critics, and now I'm one of his largest supporters. You just can't shake it when it's this true.
And look at the healing done from this Raw by Obey. The problem was this Amaterasu support. They had Odin available. It wasn't picked or banned, and electing to go for Amaterasu support to try to deal with that kind of pressure is just not efficient enough. The anti-healing was good with Osiris, but it would have been even better with that Odin cage.
Right. I mean, this was my notes just say Nodin in giant block letters. It wasn't banned. It wasn't picked. The Osiris, I mean, it was a valiant strategy, but at the end of the day, that seems to be a single target. Like, why do you think they went the Osiris instead of the Odin?
It might just be that EmilZy is not comfortable on the Odin, honestly. Sometimes a pick just doesn't suit you as a player.
Of course.
In all honesty, and I think this might have been the case here. I think Odin was a smart pick. Maybe they just haven't practiced it. Maybe they didn't think it's a valid pick, but I think it would have been very strong there rather than that Osiris.
I think that the target was trying to shut down Ataraxia in the early game. They had a lot of pressure with the Amaterasu support. We saw just how constantly they were being pushed under tower. But once it came around to the late game Jing way, Ataraxia was very comfortable. He made a lot of aggressive plays as well. It's not the Ataraxia that we're normally used to seeing. There was a lot of farming with Ataraxia in general that we're knowing of. During the first split specifically, it was Ataraxia that got the first kill, but then he actually left a winning position. He had a 3-on-2 advantage. You will see this after the kill. Instead of reevaluating the situation, he could have continued to fight, but instead he elected to ulti over the wall here instead of staying and fighting. He was completely fine here. But then later on in the game, when there was a mid-Phoenix, mid-tier 2 tower siege, we saw just how aggressive he was by being able to dash in aggressively against three people.
Yeah, I think Ataraxia has been trying to adjust this out. I think he's picked up on people saying, you know, he plays a bit scared. He's hiding under those tier 1 towers. Yeah, and in that fight, we saw him dash past, I think, 3 or 4 members and picking up the kills.
Yeah, you know, it's just a very interesting turn of events that allowed this to really happen. PANDALIKE, though, had a strong game set as well. You can see the guys from Obey reflecting on their strategy there for game number 1. What do you think worked, and what do you... Oh, PANDALIKE, always playing for the camera.
It was definitely variety, I say, on the Ymir. It was Amaterasu, Freya, and Isis that was picked up by Cringe Crew, and they didn't respect Variety's Ymir at all.
Yeah, I don't understand why. And you know, I brought this up a little bit earlier to you guys again off camera. Sometimes I feel like so number 1, I give Cringe Crew a lot of credit to being a very cerebral team. They do a lot of homework, a lot of desk work. That's been EmilZy's jam since, you know, going all the way back 2 years ago, right? That's what they're known for. But sometimes they can have a tendency to overthink. I think that's sort of like no Odin and an Amaterasu. Maybe they overthought themselves there. And forgetting about Variety's Ymir just seems like an egregious mistake.
I mean, during the regular season, you saw him pull out the Ymir so many times. And you see again, they pick characters without leaps, with no way of getting past that Ymir wall, and they don't ban it out. Which I just don't understand myself. For a team that's as smart as them, they must have thought they were able to deal with it.
Exactly.
But I think they were mistaken in that. And if they're picking a comp similar again, I don't think they can allow this Ymir through.
And something that he's done actually that was really unique, I don't think we've ever seen this in the SPL, was he was actually walling the minions off constantly, delaying them getting closer and closer to that tier 2 into the Phoenix in middle to allow the rest of the boys to basically split push on the left and then regroup in middle to get that Phoenix around the 28-minute mark.
Yeah, just a large siege of minions obviously just helps out the situation, but when it comes